Welcome to Drafting Out Loud. On today's episode of Market Movers, we have one riser to target, we have one faller to target, and a slew of values to target. Let's get into it. First, let's look at our risers. The riser we want to target is Rashee Rice, who is not going to be suspended or likely not to be suspended by the NFL. Right now, he's going at pick 28. He's already risen 4.59% for the day and 6.19% for the week. So basically, over the last day and a half, 6.19%. And you can kind of see that's even made up for the fall that he had slightly during the entire month. Uh, if you haven't drafted him much, like I haven't drafted him much, good news is I don't think you've missed out on much at all. So don't feel like you've lost the draft because you didn't draft him. If you think about it this way, Rashee Rice is basically going in between AJ Brown and Chris Olave. And right before Chris Olave is Nico Collins and George Pickens. And then before that is Malik Neighbors and Drake London. So really, if you ask me, Rashee Rice being drafted where he's being drafted right now before the news, a little crazy, kind of. Uh, you could see Chris Olave paying off more than Rashee Rice. You could see Nico Collins or George Pickens paying off more than Rashee Rice. Now, of course, you can also see Rashee Rice beating out those players as well. So I'm not saying that drafting him there now isn't a good idea. What I'm saying is that if he would have gotten suspended for the entire year type of thing, you lost out on a lot, your third round pick, and you didn't gain that much by him playing all the games. You have him slightly later than Chris Olave, Nico Collins. Now, if you were lucky enough to see him slide to the fourth round or something like that, then I think you got a little bit more value. Right now, you're getting him after someone like Teteroa McMillan, Amike Buka, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, players like that. And I think you just kind of feel better when you get him at that point in the draft versus, getting him right after Nico Collins or something like that. So feel good that you got the value, but don't feel bad if you lost out on the value. I don't think there really is much as one would think. Where do we think he'll go now? Well, he's definitely probably going to rise to at least the beginning of the third, the end of the second. You could see him rise significantly more, right? Like that the Chiefs buzz, I guess, and you could see him get into that second round and maybe continue to move up and up and up that second round. So I do think it makes sense to take him now and maybe target him over someone like Olave, especially if you're overweight Olave and underweight Rashee Rice. That way, as Olave's ADP probably starts to get into the middle of that third round and Rashee Rice starts to get into the beginning of that third round, you're maybe benefiting from that a little bit as far as like ADP value goes. You'll also get some unique teams ideally because you'll get Rashee Rice. You'll catch him in the third round and then you'll maybe catch him in the second round or something like that. Now, there isn't that much time left before the NFL draft, so who knows how much of this will play out in such a short period of time, but expect him to continue to rise. We got a number of other risers on this page as well. Someone like Casey Concepcion's starting to get buzzed to be like the second wide receiver off the board in the draft. And if that happens, you expect him to get even more buzz. That's why you see him rising up the boards right now. Omar Cooper Jr. is getting mocked more and more often in that first round as well. So we see him rising also on the list. Someone like Brian Robinson Jr. still has a lot of meat on the bone, if you ask me. Probably the most meat on the bone in this entire sheet, if you ask me. Again, Algier was going like in the 150s last year. Why is Brian Robinson still going in the 180s? If you ask me, that's the player you want to target most on here. But Rashee Rice, probably for like the immediate movement, is the other player you want to target on this list. Let's go to the fallers where we have one obvious faller to take, and that's Puka Nacua. If you can get him a little bit later in that first round, again, you end up with something unique and an awesome player. Now, obviously there's a lot of risk right now with him being in rehab, whatever that means right now. But assuming that you get some good news at some point in time, and then he'll immediately find himself back at that that third or fourth pick. So get him now while you can, especially if you get him falling. If he's fallen 15% in the last day, then you got to expect him to be, get people getting him at like the number 5 pick, the number 6 pick, things like that. Maybe even 7. I think I saw him at 7 in one draft. So if you can get Puka Nacua at anything past pick 4, if you ask me, you just jump on it and you hope you get some unique teams because of it. Puka with a different player that you weren't able to get before because you always were seeing the same players at the very end of that second round or beginning of that third round. When it comes to the other fallers, we have some other fallers on here that are a little bit interesting. If you ask me, we got someone like Denzel Boston, who has gotten a lot of bad hype recently, but he actually got Hayden Winks rated him as I think like the third best wide receiver, third or fourth best wide receiver. They rated him. He rated Denzel Boston ahead of uh, Tyson. Now, who knows if other people will side with that or not? But pretty big name in the business, giving Boston his seal of approval. So someone that maybe is interesting on this list. I think he's also on the values list, so that would be a reason why you'd want to target him on DraftKings. We also have other free agents on this list too, like Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel. So those free agents I still think are interesting picks that you can take. Let's go to and last but not least, we had George Pickens on this list here now he's fallen into the third round here at 24.4. So you can probably expect Rashee Rice to eventually pass George Pickens, I guess, just because Rashee Rice has got all the good buzz going right now. George Pickens has got, if anything, just some negative buzz, like will he be playing to start the season or will he hold out type of thing. So that's another player that you probably want to, you probably want to get Rashee Rice ahead of George Pickens right now just to kind of get ahead of that rise. Okay, let's go look at our values. And I think there's some exciting values here, if you ask me. Yeah, we got a bunch of wide receivers on the list that are exciting. We got Jordan Tyson. He's been getting some negative buzz, but a lot of people rate him as between the first or second wide receiver most of the times. Mine is like Hayden Winks again. We also have on this list Makai Lemon, another one of the rookies at 73. There's some people that really think Makai Lemon's even like the number one wide receiver in some cases. And then there's Denzel Boston too at pick 158 on DraftKings. So 3 rookie wide receivers that you can get. If you ask me, some of the other exciting ones are Devonta Smith. I think at pick 46, you're getting all the upside and more if A.J. Brown gets traded and none of the downside. So I think he's a great pick right there. And then, in fact, I've been lucky enough to do this, I think on more than one occasion, if I'm not mistaken, where I go and actually take Devonta Smith ahead of Ladd McConkey in the 4th round. Ladd McConkey falls to the 5th round, and then you end up with Makai Lemon in like the 6th or 7th round. Hopefully that's a good thing to have happen on DraftKings. DraftKings is a PPR website, and while Devonta Smith isn't, a PPR scam, Ladd McConkey and Makai Lemon could be those PPR scam sort of wide receivers. Now, the one that I think is the coolest one to target right now is probably Jordan Addison. Just because what if Kyler Murray does it for Minnesota? Jordan Addison's proven he can make it happen every single year. And so why can't he do it again this year? At this pick 100 here, you got, who else do we have around pick 100 at wide receiver? We have right after Jordan Addison, we have Quentin Johnston, who's been falling down the board. And right ahead of Jordan Addison with Jacoby Myers, then Ricky Pearsall. I think probably Jordan Addison has just the safer floor, at least according to those players. He's going after Romeo Doubs also. I think he's probably got the safer floor of some of those players, if you ask me, right? Because he's essentially locked in number 2. Some of these other players like Jacoby Myers, he's competing against 3 other pretty good wide receivers, at least 2 and probably 3 other good wide receivers. Quentin Johnson, who knows how he's going to fit in that new offense that they got on the Chargers. So Jordan Addison at pick number 97, I think, is a fun pick, especially if you can get him with Kyler Murray for that stack. There are your values for the day. Get that Devonta Smith stack going. And there are your fallers. Get your Nakuas. And there are your risers. Get your Rashee Rices and your Brian Robinson Jr.'s. See you on the next one. Peace.